All right, a nostalgia trip for you Gen X, Gen Z millennials. All you want is money. All you want is this and that. Well, I've done enough videos for the Gen X millennials, and they're going to continue. Now, I do remember a while back, as I looked back at almost 1,000 uploads that I've done 2.5 years. I did a video about Gen Z millennials adding game shows to it. And trust me, we in Gen X will still continue to say we had the best because we look at all this new stuff and new technology and everything. They need to go back and realize what it was like going after game shows and trying to win a car, trying to win cash, because everybody's trying to upgrade everything. So let's just put on our thinking cap. And this is a nostalgia trip for us in Gen X. We are going back in time to what it was like to win 5,000, 10,000, maybe 25,000, maybe even a couple things you don't necessarily know. Now, I'm not going to get a chance to get everything, but we had it pretty darn good. It's not like Deal or No Deal. It's not like the wall or the chair or the floor, or these weird, stupid names. But if you want the money, you'll do whatever. Roll the intro. It's a nostalgia trip. So, real quick, let's jump right into it. Right here, as I do the Vanna White thing, is a subscribe button. Hit that if you want to be alerted for anything new that comes across. And whether we do the hockey content or anything like the hockey content, the sports, the hot takes, the reviews, we do appreciate you as we're getting close to 1,000 subs. Now, I am going to eventually spin this around because we of Gen X will remember the good old days of television because our game shows were better than what you people, you Gen Z people, have now. I mean, I get it. You guys are inheriting the traditional stuff with Price is Right, Let's Make a Deal, and now Deal or No Deal, the Survivor, the Wall, the Chair, the Floor, the Wall. I don't know what half the names of those, and even half the stuff that is on Game Show Network are also being replicated in new versions. Chain Reaction is one. America Says is actually a longer version of Family Feud, is what that is, a different version of it. But there's too much to go by. Like they're doing new card games. Catch 21's pretty cool, but they're not getting enough viewership. Like they tried to revive Card Sharks and only lasted one summer, but it's not the same as what we had it back then. Let me guide you as a firm belief. Let's just jump right into it. The original Fast Money with Richard Dawson. This is what we of Gen X remember, that board, that digital board with Richard Dawson. Nobody ever replaces Richard Dawson. I mean, as weird as the guy was, he was an actor, became a game show host. This is what he inherited, and this is what he took all the way into the 80s before he retired. And then Ray Combs took over, and then it was a handful of others. There was the guy from Home Improvement, the late Louis Anderson. There was another guy, I can't remember, he was a comedian, and then Steve Harvey obviously inherits it all. He wanted it, he almost like threatened everybody. I want Family Feud, and he made it his own brand. So that's what Family Feud, everyone remembers. Fast Money originally was for $5,000. And then obviously the time changes. It goes for 10 to 25, 20,000 a car. I don't know what it goes, but it's changed enough. This is what remember, but this is Gen X's version. This is what remember. This is what we do. This is exactly what we are going to take this trip on. I might take you on a couple places we haven't gone to, and these are not in any particular order. Let's continue. Now, like Chain Reaction, there's this game is also on Game Show Network. There's a young host on. I don't know his name either because I don't watch Game Show Network. But the late Bill Cullen was this guy that he hosted a boatload of game shows and was one of the best. He might be a Mount Rushmore, but one of the bonus rounds was those two. Yeah, they say words back and forth until they form a question. The contestant in the middle's got to answer it after they ring the bell. And there were different versions of this. And one of them was you had to get 10 in 90 seconds or something, and you win 10,000 or whatever. This was the original Chain Reaction that I remember. And if you remember Bill Cullen, that's a golf clap for you. I put this up. This is just the extension of the match game wheel, which you had to do the super match, and then you had to spin this wheel, and if that thing landed in the stars, that amount doubled, and you had to play the super match with whomever that was. And remember back in the old days of Match Game 74, 5, 6, 7, you got to pick whomever the star was, and 90% of the time they picked Richard Dawson. So I think this was another reason why they wanted to add the had the wheel to it. And Match Game with Gene Rayburn, one of the best with Brett Summers and Charles Nelson Riley. Iconic. That's not even an argument. Let's move on. I put this one up, Dreamhouse. Now, no, a lot of people don't remember this. This was actually a game show in the 60s, and then they revived it in the 80s, and it was couples going after, back in the late 80s, early 90s, to win a dream house. I mean, back then, the houses were near affordable, but they were hanging around between 90 and 150, 100, $200,000. But they had to do a thing where they had to get a combination. They had to answer 3 questions. If you answer them correctly, you took a number off the combination, and then you had a chance to punch them in. And if you got the combination right, the golden doors lit up, and you won a house. And sometimes that didn't work out. But Bob Eubanks, another legendary one, did that. Look that up if you haven't figured out Dreamhouse. It was kind of interesting. It was on NBC. Now I need to figure this one out because God forbid, if you guys remember Bullseye, there was a thing called Bonus Island, and this was almost kind of like the Joker's Wild thing, where you see those swirly things. They came up with the dollar amounts, and then there was lightning that you see. The lightning was the version of the dragon. Don't hit the dragon. This is lightning. Don't hit the lightning. You had to get like a certain amount. If you spun that 10 times, you win $5,000. This was a prize package thing. This was one of those. This was a syndicated show that was on mostly USA Network had this show a little bit, and the late Jim Lang hosted. He hosted a lot of great ones. And I was doing this video. I did put this one up, and I completely forgot one of his best ones, and that was the $1 Million Chance of a Lifetime, where the couples had a chance to win $1 million. I should have put that one up there, but that is a little Easter egg. But you go find that because that was the original $1 Million Shot. I put this one up. This one, I had to snip this off of YouTube. It was Now You See It. This was in 1989, where you see that board, you had to find 10 answers, 10 questions, and you had the pen, and you had to find all 10 that was hiding in that thing. I didn't watch this show very much, but this was also a game show back in the 70s, and this was also very, very interesting. Got 10, 60 seconds, $25,000, not a bad day's work. Let's move on. This was one of my favorites, the big numbers. This is the big numbers that was on. This was multiple shows all through. I don't have time to put 1,000 tabs on it, but it was High Rollers. This was originally in the 70s hosted by the late Alex Trebek. 2 versions of it. And it was 70s, early 80s, and then Wink Martindale, the late Wink Martindale, one of the greatest of all time. You rolled that table, you did the original game, and then you played the big numbers, knocked all 9 numbers out, and you win $10,000. Now it's something that you could play anywhere. It's like called Clear the Deck, Clear the Box or something, and it was 1 through 10. You can find that anywhere. You can find that on Amazon now. But you will always remember High Rollers, and Wink Martindale obviously is one of the GOATs. No question about it. I'm going to put a little bit of a sidetrack. Not a lot of people know this, but if you go back to 1978 to 83, there was a show called, and I kid you not, the show's name was called, and I cannot bring this. You're going to have to, let me see if I can, there it is. This right here is called The Gauntlet of Villains. And what you did is you had to step up in those 70-ish cartoonish characters with old school TV screens on them and answer 10 riddles. But you had to step in front of each and every single one of them. Answer one correctly, their arm would go down, you go to the next one. Answer all 10 in 60 seconds plus time from what was going on in the original match. $25,000 in that big lit stage in 78 all the way to 81, 82, 83 or something. And the late Tom Kennedy also hosted this. This was nobody knows about this game, and this could get redone if done correctly, because if you do it now, that's not going to be 25,000. It's going to be like 100,000. Could you do this? You think it may be easier than you think. Let's move this on again. I'm going to zoom this back up because you have to go back to the syndicated, one of the best game shows ever, Tic-Tac-Toe, and the bonus stage. The bonus stage is simple enough. Fight the dragon. You have to get $1,000. Is 9 numbers. Find $1,000 or find Tick and Tack. and you win the bonus prize package. You hit the dragon, bye bye. That dragon scared me to death every time that thing came up because when you see the light flashing on the number and it would blah 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 blah, and you don't know if you were going to hear a ding or you were going to hear a ding or you were going to hear the dragon roar. And I didn't know what that thing was until I figured it out. Oh, it was the face of the dragon. I didn't know what that was when I first saw it. But when you hear it roar, oh, you were running for your life when you were a little child. So, but Tic Tac Toe, one of the best syndicated game shows ever. Period. Wink. God rest your soul. This could be a top five, and it's the money cards. Now, this is the thing of finding stuff from the info superhighway. Now, the money cards is one of the best things of trying to win a lot of money, but it is hit and miss. I still, to this day, want these cards. It's never going to happen. Card Sharks from the 70s to the 80s. There was multiple versions. The first one was by the late Jim Perry. Bob Eubanks did it in the 90s, and then they tried another version in the late 90s, 2000s, and then somebody else tried to do one in it's the recent last couple of years on ABC, and it only went one season in the summer. But these cards, the money cards, higher or lower, you bet. And there's only like two people that went the distance and bet all on every single card. People don't know this. These cards were I don't know the exact the size demographic. 25 pounds was a whole entire deck of these cards. I mean, they were bigger than 9 by 12. I mean, I should have had the thing in front of me, but Card Sharks was one of the best ever, period. But I don't know what was better, Jim Perry's or Bob Eubanks. I don't know. You give me that one. The winner's circle of every pyramid game known to man. The late Dick Clark, one of the best ever. There were so many versions of this going to all of them, winning 10,000. I mean, the original ones was 10, 20,000. They did syndicated $25,000 in the 80s, early 90s. They did a $50,000 in the 70s, early 80s, and then it started getting up to the $100,000 one was probably their most popular one. Then when Dick Clark passed away, it started going to different people. Like Donny Osmond was a host. Get that through your head. And it's all changed now. Strahan, the Strahan does the new $100,000 one, but the mechanics change everything on that. But Dick Clark Pyramid, that might be that's a top 10 game show of all time. I put this one up here, The Joker's Wild, Face the Devil. The original Jack Barry was the original host, and then Bill Cullen also took over. And the thing was simply of this: you spun the wheel, the old school turnstile wheels, and if you got three of a kind, you won the prize package. If you made it to $1,000, you won the prize package. The devil was behind one of those, and regardless, if you hit the devil, game over. And that devil is a scary little bastard. Let me say, excuse my French. But Joker's Wild, also one of the best syndicated ever. And I kind of have to go back, and probably one of the best ones is, in fact, the bonus round for the Wheel of Fortune, because this can be anything. This could be really much anything you could think of. I mean, Pat Sajak, Vanna White, they'll always be some of the best of all time. The Wheel of Fortune, best of all time, probably is a top 5 bonus round, because now you could win a car, you could win a boatload of money. The spin the wheel, anything could be around that thing that they do now. And now Pat Sajak is retired. Ryan Seacrest, who just seemed he cannot stay off TV, has a bigger job now than American Idol ever would, but he's still doing that too. But there is so many, and I forgot to put the $1 million chance of a lifetime. That was another big one, and I could go on to so many different ones. So many game shows that ever have a great final say. Like Let's Make a Deal's Big Deal is always big. Price is Right just has games, and then you play the Showcase Showdown. There is so many. There were so many that we grew up with. And I know there is a boatload that I'm not going to miss, but Gen Z will never have as much fun as we had, and it wasn't as much dramatic. I mean, yeah, sure, Deal or No Deal, you could be that dumb and stubborn and hit no deal, and you're the one that gets $1 instead of 400 grand. That's on you. That's a you problem. So, because you're that stubborn. So, with that being said, I'm going to shut the bar down and I'm going to ask you, the public, any of those, which one was your favorite? And there's another one that you remember deep down. I probably will did not put it up. Maybe I'll do a part two. But if you remember something big in game show history that you remember, besides like Pressure Luck and all that stuff, don't worry. Trust me, Pressure Luck was one of the best ones too. But they didn't have a game. They didn't have a final round. They just played 2 rounds. Whoever had the most money won. That was simple as that. But what do you remember that we had better than Gen Z in a game show atmosphere? Tell me what you remember that was better than what we have today. Even if it was $1 million, even if they're fighting for $1 million, $2 million. I mean, don't get me wrong, all of those. Well, I mean, all of those. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Greed, all that other stuff. I mean, sure, it's fun. It was crazy, but Gen X still had the best. It was, there wasn't high tech. There wasn't a lot of high tech. Tell me what you think. Chuck a like, throw a comment in. This will be an interesting concept. Tell me what you believe. What did we have better than Gen Z has now? I close the bar, and I'll see you bloody legends in the next one. I don't know what else to tell you. I think we had it pretty darn good. See you guys in the next one.